Alright, my friends, so in today's episode, we will take a look at how you can create devil fruit models. And by creating, I mean how you can model them. And I want to show you three ways of modeling. So three different modeling types. And the first one, so I'm gonna describe them and I'm gonna blend in some reference images so you guys know what I'm talking about. The first one is just having a shape such as a block, a sphere whatsoever, and then having a dull fruit swirl texture upon it. One example could be the dull fruits from Blox Fruits. Not all of them. I haven't played Blox Fruits that much to be honest, but there are some fruits which have that, yeah, that blocky shape and then just those swirls upon it. That's the first thing we can do. The second thing we can do is to you have this shape, such as a block, sphere, but also other types of shapes, and then having those swirl textures engraved into it. I've made a tutorial on that, and I'm gonna be using the same method. I'm gonna show you the pros and cons of those methods as well, so that you guys can choose for yourself what you want to do. The third method is that you create, yeah, some kind of abstract shape. So you create a shape for yourself, and a con could be that you do not have those swirls inside of that, but you could also model the swirls, so that's no problem. But the third method is just overall more difficult to do and costs more work, more time, more effort whatsoever. But I'm gonna be going through all of these. So we are currently in Blender 2.8. I highly advise you to download it and to use it if you want to continue with this step right here. If you have your own fruit model, then you can skip this part right here, and I'm gonna be explaining to you in the next part on how you can weld everything together and then put it inside of your tool and actually be able to use it. All right. But yeah, if you have Blender 2.8, so I have 2.8. I think that there are already some newer versions of Blender out there, but I do not like to use them because I've gotten used to 2.8, you know. And yeah, but I think that it is still possible to download the older versions of Blender, so such as 2.8. Now, what I also have is I have enabled a plugin called Screencast Keys, which allows me to see my mouse input right here on the left-hand side. Okay, so this is just for you, so that you guys know my mouse inputs, and I'm gonna be explaining some of the controls so that you guys can follow what I'm doing. And yeah, with that being said, let's get into it. So let's start by, yeah, working on the first method. So what you guys want to do is that you want to select a shape. Okay, so you can select the cube. I think that Blox Fruits has some dull fruit models which have that cube shape and then just those textures upon it. So we can do that as well. So you can use a cube. And let me explain some of the controls so that you guys know what you're doing. So first of all, Shift A, as you can see, allows you to add something new. Now I've gone to Mesh and then Cube, and I've selected the cube. As you can see, there are a few other shapes out there. For example, the UV sphere, the icosphere, the cylinder, the cone, torus, whatsoever. But within this episode, we only want to focus on the cube and maybe on the UV sphere. And I think that this is actually it. We might also use some things like the circle and the plane, but you guys will find out when I do that. So once you have added this shape, you perform a left mouse click on it and then tap. Okay. So what happens if you take a look at this part right here? So in the left upper corner, it says object mode currently. So this is the mode you're currently in. Now within the object mode, you can only observe this whole thing. All right. But if you press tab, you switch the modes and you're now in sort of the edit mode. As you can see, we have those dots in each corner of this cube. Now, if I left mouse on one of these dots and then press G, he's responsible to move, okay? As you can see, when I move this dot, you actually change the shape of your mesh right here. Now, I do not recommend you to just press G and then to move it around freely. What I recommend you to do is that, well, in each 3D room, you have each axis, so X, Y, and Z. Now, what you want to do is that once you've pressed G, you immediately press any of these axes. So, for example, X. Now, as you can see, we have this red line, and this basically means that your dot is allowed to move along that red line. Now, I could press G and then Y, and then I have another line right here, a green one, which only allows me to move on this green line. Now, I can do the same for the Z axis, and now I have a blue line. And as you can see, by having these lines, you can actually move around more precisely. So let's say that I want to move this thing to this point right here. But I could just go ahead and do this. As you can see, if we take a closer look, so from above, it seems quite fine. But if you take a look at the different angles, you can see that this dot is actually up here and not on this level. Now, and that's the reason why we want to use those axes right here. So I can press GX to move it right here and GY to move it right here. And as you can see, we have now gotten to the point where we wanted this thing to be. Okay, now one more thing, you can press Ctrl and Z to undo everything, and I think that you can press Ctrl and Y. I cannot. Never mind that. And yeah. Now if you press A, you select everything. If you press it again, no wait. Nah, yeah. Press it one time, and then you select everything. Press it 2 times. So pretty fast. Then you unselect everything. Okay. Now pressing tab makes you go out of the edit mode again and makes you switch back into the object mode. Now we have some other controls, such as, yeah, G is for moving. You also have rotate. Rotate only makes sense when you have multiple vertices, so that's how you call these dots, vertices. So when you have multiple of them selected, and you can select multiple of them by, look, so you press left mouse on one, and then you want to select another one, and what you do is that you hold shift and then press left mouse button on the other vertice. Now you can press R to rotate. And as you can see, we're now rotating this thing freely. And the same principle from before, so with these 3 axes, also applies to this one. So if you press R and then X, you only rotate on this axis, okay? Now if you press R and Z, for example, you rotate on this one. If you press R and Y, you only rotate on this one. Alright. Now the next thing you could do, so let me select 2 of them again, is that you can scale them. So by pressing S, you can scale them freely again. Let's actually take a look at how this looks like. Yeah. Now, pressing S and X makes them only scale on this axis. S and Y only makes them scale on this axis. The problem on why they're not scaling is that there is no point on. Now there is no other vertice which has a different Y value inside of this room than these 2. So if you take a look at their Y value, so if you imagine a coordinate frame, okay, then this and this, they have the same Y value, so they are on the same Y position. Now if you take a look at this thing, for example, it has a different Y value because it is at a different position on this Y axis right here. Now if we select this one, as you can see, and make it scale up on the Y axis, it actually scales. Now we can do the same with, what was it? Yeah, Z axis is the same problem, so both of them have the same Z value. Now if you select one which has a different Z value, then it scales as well. Another thing is that, wait, I'm gonna explain to you how I've just done that. So if you press 1, you see those vertices. Now if you press 2, as you can see, the vertices are gone. But you see that the edges are somehow highlighted, so they have a thicker color. Now if you press a left mouse button on one of these edges, you can now select the edges. Now if you press 3, the edges are gone, but now you can select the faces, okay? And if I, for example, select a face and then switch back to vertices mode, okay, by pressing 1, you can see that all of the vertices are selected. Now if I switch into edge mode and then select this edge, for example, and if I switch back into vertices mode, you can see that these two vertices are selected. So just so you guys know what I've just done. Now the last thing I'm going to show you is the extrude option. So if you select the face right here, but you can also select, well, you could even do this with a vertex, okay? Let me actually show it on the vertex, then on the edge, and then on the face. So when you select the vertex and press E, you extrude it, okay? You can imagine this extrusion as some kind of expanding. So you basically expand this vertex, so you clone it, and then you put it somewhere else, and then connect each vertices together, okay? Now the same rule as before applies on this one as well. Pressing X only extrudes it on the X-axis, Y on the Y-axis, and Z on the Z-axis, as you can see. Now, let me undo this. Now, let's select the edge. Let's do the same. As you can see, extruding an edge creates two new vertices, and also connects those two newly created vertices to the old vertices. Okay? And I can move them on each axis again. And the same works for the face, as you can see. And yeah. Let me undo this. Okay. One more thing I would like to show you is that once you... So when I extrude this vertex here, right? And let's say I want to connect this vertex to this one, so that we have a triangle face. How would I do that? So you could go ahead, press this one, and select all of the other vertices which you want to be involved. So this one, and this one, because they freeform the triangle face. Once you have selected all of these, press F. As you can see, you have formed a new face. Now there is a much easier trick to this one. You could select this one and then hold Control and then select this one. As you can see, it automatically selects this one as well. Now this doesn't... Nah, this works on easier meshes, on easier shapes like this. But if you have a more complex one, this might not really work that good. So just in case, so you guys know. Okay. Now wait, let me actually show you one more thing. So I'm gonna show you the most basic tools which are important to know, so that you guys are able to shape your own mesh right here. If you press Ctrl R, you see that we have those, four lines. Yeah, 4 lines. So we have those 4 lines right here, and according to my mouse movement, it creates a different cut. So that's how you call these. You call these cuts, okay? So putting my mouse right here creates a cut on the Y-axis. Always keep the axis in mind. This one is a cut on the Y-axis. This one on the X-axis, and where is it? This one on the Z-axis. Okay. Now let's select the cut, and as you can see, I'm able to move this around freely. So I can place a cut wherever I want to place a cut. Now what you can do, you can even increase the size of cuts. Now wait. Let me undo this. So you can increase the size of cuts. As you can see, now we have multiple cuts right here. I could go ahead, select one and expand it, you know. But that's basically what you can do with these cuts. Now you might ask, why do we want to use this? I could, for example, go ahead, do this. Okay. And I could go ahead and do this. Now I could go ahead, wait. Let me actually... Yeah, as you can see, our cube has some rounded edges now. That's basically one thing you could do. Wait. There we go. Now we have our shape right here. And yeah, we could now put some textures on it. And then we're actually good to go. Now we have this cube shape with those rounded edges. We could also go ahead and create a UV sphere, as you can see. And we could scale it a little bit down to give it some kind of football shape maybe. And then you could call this your fruit as well. Okay, so this could also be a fruit shape. Or you could also go ahead, select it, Shift D to duplicate, and then Z to move it on the Z axis. And then you can scale it down on the Y axis, move it down a little. And then you have another fruit shape, you know. So you're basically free to create any shape you want. I've just gave you some controls. You can try it out yourself. So the most important thing is that you actually exercise. Okay, so you have to exercise on this one a lot. I have a lot of hours in Blender, probably over 200 hours, and I'm still learning a lot. So you should really exercise on your Blender skills as well. And yeah, now let's quickly create the stem. Stem is important as well. And then let's move on with exporting this thing. So I'm going to show you how to export those models. And then I'm going to move on with creating the texture, okay? And we're going to use the texture we are now going to create on the second type of model, because we need the texture on that one, because we want to do those kind of engravings on it, you know? That's the reason why we need it. And then we're going to finish with the second model, and then we're going to move on with the third type of model. And then we're going to finish that one as well. Then after that, we are going to end this episode, and then I'm going to show you how to weld everything together and how to make it compatible with your tool in the next episode, guys. So as of now, I'm just scaling all of these things, so there's nothing too special in it. Okay, so let me show you what I've just done. As you can see, we have the part which sticks out. Okay, so this part sticks out of this fruit right here. Now we also have the part which is inside of the fruit, as you can see right here. Now what you can do to look inside of the fruit to see this part is that you can press Z, or you can hold Z, and then you have different modes right here. And then you select the wireframe mode. As you can see, everything becomes transparent. Now we can select all of these, so press C to have the circle, and then hold your left mouse button to select these, and then I can start by scaling them. Now when I switch back to solid mode, as you can see that the root of the stem now looks different. Now I could add a cut, move it down, and then scale it down again to make this root look more realistic. I could also add a cut right here, then scale it on the x-axis to create a round effect on the stem, and do the same on the side, as you can see. And as you can see, our stem has just become more round. Now, as you can see, this stem looks pretty blocky, so the texture of it. So we can see those lines right here. We can see those blocky shapes right here. Now you might want to ask, okay, so how can we change that? In order to change that, you have to select the object and then right click and then press Shade Smooth. Now, as you can see, it now smooths the surface of this shape. We can do the same for this one, and then it looks like this. Now, the problem with this is that in most cases, this doesn't look good. What you can do to further this whole thing is that you go to this wrench symbol, and then where it says add modifier, you add the, what was it? The add split modifier. And as you can see, this object now, it looks like the mode before, so this smooth mode, but also like the mode before that, so this flat mode. So pressing on shade flat makes it turn back into this mode again. So it is some kind of mixture out of these. Okay. Now when I add the add split to this one, it now looks better as well. So let me actually finish the stem. So I highly recommend you to finish the stem before you apply any modifiers on it and before you apply this shade smooth thing on it. So finish modeling it and then you can go ahead and apply all of the modifiers on it. So I'm gonna just create a basic ass stem right here. So this is just me extruding, rotating, and yeah, that's actually it. So there's nothing more to this. Okay, now let's actually scale this down a little. And as you can see, this is our stem. Now let's shade this smooth. Let's add this add split modifier to it. Let's apply it. And as you can see, we have now created our first fruit model, guys. Now, one more thing, which is quite important, and not on this one, so not on this type of fruit model, and not on the second, well, yeah, maybe on the second one as well, but especially on the third one, is that you have to keep an eye on this. So in the bottom right corner right here where it says tris, so triangles, make sure that this amount does not exceed, I think, 10,000. So back then when I was modeling actively and when I was uploading meshes to Roblox Studio, they had a limit of triangles, which was at 10,000 at that time, I think. So make sure that it does not exceed that amount. And if it does, then all you gotta do is that you have to go ahead, click on one object, then add the decimate modifier, and then play around with this ratio until the amount of triangles, as you can see, is below 10,000, so it's below your limit. And yeah, with that being said, let's move on with exporting this whole thing. So I'm going to show you how to export it correctly. So what you want to do to export this thing is that you want to export single by single. So that is what I was doing, okay, and what I'm doing until today, what works for me. I don't know if there are any other exporting methods out there, but what this allow, no, let me actually explain to you what the problem is when you just go ahead, click File, Export, and then OBJ. Okay, so when you do that, the problem is that Blender joins this and this mesh, so both of them together. Okay, and this does not allow you to give this a random, a different color or material than this mesh right here. And that is what we want to do. So we want the stem to have a different color, maybe green, and we want this fruit model right here to have a different color, maybe blue. And by exporting both of them at the same time, we cannot do that because they become one. Now what you want to do instead is that you want to go ahead then make sure that you export every mesh part single by single. So we have two in total, so the stem and the fruit model right here. So let's delete the stem. Go ahead, file, export obj, and export this. After you've exported it somewhere on your computer or on your laptop, go ahead, Control Z, and then select the fruit model, delete, and then export this one. So file, export obj, then Control Z again, and then you have both of them right here again. That's when how you can do it. And I'm gonna be doing this now, and then we'll see each other back in Roblox Studio, and then I'm gonna show you how you can create the texture for yourself. Okay, with that being said, see you soon. Alright, so back in Roblox Studio, what you want to do is that you want to go ahead, right click on the workspace, then go to insert object, and then look out for a mesh part. Now, once you have added your mesh port inside of here, duplicate your mesh port, and then select the first mesh port, and then click on this folder icon in the properties tab, and then select one of the two meshes you've just exported from Blender. So I'm gonna be selecting the handle, so the model fruit, the fruit model, I'm sorry. There we go. So this cube right here. Now select the second one and import this stem onto it. And yeah, as you can see, we now have this cube right here, and we now have the stem. So the next step is to give them a certain color. And as you can see now, you hopefully can understand why I have exported them single by single, because it now allows us the stem to have a different color and also a different material than the fruit model. And that is basically the reason why we've done that. Yeah. Now, the next step is that we add those swirls onto it. But in order to be able to do that, we have to create those swirls. So if I type dull fruit inside of here, so inside of this toolbox, you can see that we have... Wait. Nah, they deleted it. Back then, when I used to develop actively, we had those swirl images inside of here. So inside of this decals panel, so inside of this toolbox right here. But they seem to have removed them. But yeah, doesn't matter because we are gonna create our own ones. And in order to create your own one, you need to have a program called paint.net. Okay, that is very, very important. And yeah, I'm gonna start that program, then we're gonna see each other inside of paint.net. Alright, I'm now here inside of paint.net. Wait, let me actually change some things. Yeah. Alright. As you can see, we have a bunch of stuff right here. So the history, layers, and you're probably not even familiar with paint.net, but that is no problem because you do not really need that much of knowledge to be able to do what we are going to do now. And you don't even need to use paint.net. You can also use other programs if you're good in them, if you have experience in them. But I'm going to be using paint.net because it is free, and I have a lot of experience in paint.net. I've been using this for years now, and it works fine. So the first thing which you want to do is that you have to imagine that this white base right here is your face. So one face of your fruit model's, yeah, object. So one face of it. And we have 6 in total. Wait. Yeah, we have 6 faces in total. And each face is going to have the swirl image we're now going to create. So a swirl pattern we're now going to create on this white space right here. But the first thing which we want to do is that we want to resize this to a symmetrical size. As you can see, the size, the width is currently 800 pixels, while the height is 600 pixels. And we want to make them equal, so to make them symmetric. Now the next step is to create a new layer. New layer basically means, wait, let me demonstrate to you what a new layer is. So we now have another layer upon this white layer, upon this white surface. Now when I go ahead and disable the white surface, you see that the white surface is now gone. So this layer with the white background is now gone, and we have layer 2, which has this black line right here still on. Now the advantage is that we want our swirl pattern to be a PNG. Means we want it to be transparent. Now when we do everything on this layer right here, so on this background layer, and if we disable it, for example, we have all of the other lines right here gone as well, and we lose the ability to make things transparent. This would result in that the fruit model also has this white color in its face. So this whole white thing makes up one face along with those two lines. So now that's the reason why we want to work on a transparent layer. But we're going to keep a white layer as background to, you know, be able to see how things look like. Okay, now the next thing is that we are going to create the pattern. And we could now go ahead and make them round. Okay, so round like a circle. Or we could go ahead and make them look like the ones from Blox Fruit. And let's actually do that. So wait, let me actually explain this from the very beginning. So we have this brush width, okay? Put it to 7 at the beginning. Now go ahead and select this line and curve tool. And now make a straight line, okay? What you want to do next is that we want to create some corners. So the first one here. In order to do that, you can take this part and move it right here. But now you can see that there is no corner. So the area which would have been a corner is now round up. And what you can do to make it look like a corner is that you take this part right here and move it like this. And as you can see, we have a sharp corner now. Now the next step is to make another line from this point to this point, and now just repeat the process. Maybe move it a little bit more up. Like this, yeah. And now repeat the process once again. And there we go. Now, once you've done this, you can go ahead and select this one. So this tool on the top left corner called rectangle select. And now you can hold your mouse from here to here, okay? Make sure to cover up this whole thing, and then Control and C to copy, or you can alternatively press on this button. And now create a new layer, and then do Control A to select everything, and then Control V to paste this shape into this new layer. What you want to do now is that you want to move this out, and then you want to rotate this a little, and then just put it somewhere else. Okay, and then Control A again to select everything. So you might want to ask, okay, so why are we selecting everything over and over again? The problem is that when you do not do that, you might cut out some parts of this drawing when pasting it in. That's the reason why we Control A every time before pasting it in. Okay, and I'll just repeat this process over and over again until you have filled this whole white background with patterns. what you can do as well to add some little variety into it is that you can shrink this down or even scale it up, so it depends on your preferences. But yeah. There we go, guys. So once you have copy and pasted this whole thing, okay, then go ahead, select your top layer, and then keep on pressing this button until you only have 2 layers left. And then you can go ahead and delete this, and then you have your PNG. This is your texture now. And then what you want to do next is that you want to go to File, Save As, and save it as a PNG. That is very, very important. So as you can see, this is my folder. Make sure to save it as a PNG. That is very, very important. And yeah, we'll see each other back in studio. Okay, so back in ROBLOX Studio, what you want to do is that you want to go to this fruit model, right click on the mesh pod, insert object, and insert a decal. Now, what you want to do is that you want to go to texture and then add an image, and you want to add this texture image, okay? So, where is it? Right there. There we go. So this is your swirl pattern now, and then you want to copy this, so duplicate, and then change the face. So as you can see, it says front, change it to back, okay, and then repeatedly change it until each face has this texture. There we go. There we go. So this is the first way to create a fruit model. You could now also go ahead and turn down the transparency a little. Make it look more realistic, in my opinion, but yeah. Congratulations, this is your first self-made fruit model. Okay. Now, we'll see each other back in studio with the second method. I mean, we'll see each other back in Blender with the second method, guys. Okay, now wait, before we move on with Blender, you have to do one more thing. And this thing is that you have to open up paint.net, alright? Wait, let me quickly change something. And then you have to go to File, and then you have to open, and then you have to open up the texture you have just exported from paint.net. And what you want to do now is that you want to add a new layer, and then hit this move layer down button, and then select this bucket, make sure that the primary color is white, and then add a white background. This is very important, otherwise the second method won't work. What you want to do now is that you want to go to File, Save, and then Save As, and then save it as a PNG again, okay? Alright, so let's move on with Blender now. What you want to do in here is that you want to go ahead, Shift-A, Mesh, and then UV Sphere. What you want to do now is that, so you can scale this up if you want to, but hit tab to enter the edit mode, and then everything is pre-selected. If not, press A, and then hit right click, subdivide. And now go to this tab where it says subdivide, and then increase the number of cuts to 25. So why do we do this? So we want a lot of cuts in here. The more cuts we have, the more detailed everything is going to be. But 25 is enough because we need to find a healthy balance. Okay, now the next thing is that you want to go to this wrench symbol and then press this and then go to this place. Now hit new, so where it says texture, hit new, and then go to this symbol right here and then open. Okay, and then you want to select your image which you have just exported, so that the texture image with white background, and then it should look like this. Okay, and this is already moving us to the pros and cons. Okay, although I'm gonna discuss them later, but one con argument is that, well, the swirl shape right here is fine, but then right here you have, you know, so it doesn't really look that good. But if you want to use it, just go ahead and use it. What you want to do next is that you want to go back to this wrench symbol, and then where it says strength, you want to lower this to 0.02. Okay, and what this does, as you can see, it determines the deepness of your engravings. So 0.01 seems to be fine. Now apply everything, and now this step is very, very important. I've discussed this in the first method. As you can see, our amount of triangles has exceeded 10,060 times. Okay, so we have 648,960 amount of triangles. What you want to do in order to decimate this is that you want to go ahead and hit this decimate modifier, and now where it says ratio, lower this to 0.1. Let's see how many triangles we have left then. Okay, as you can see, the meth loses its quality and the amount of triangles are lowered, but this is not enough yet. We want to lower this down to 10,000. Yeah, okay, 6,000. We've now gotten 6,000 right here. Let's increase this. Well, let's keep around 2,000. So let's lower this down to 8,000 maybe, and then we're good to go. $9,000. Nah, come on. Okay, this should be fine. Yeah, there we go. 7,000 is totally fine. Now, apply this modifier as well. And as you can see, your mesh should look like this now. What you want to do is that you want to go ahead and add this add split modifier to make it look like this, okay? And now we can see our swirl patterns right here, okay? But really the only problem with this method is that you have shapes like this around the middle part of this fruit model, and they don't really look that good, to be honest. But yeah, it is actually up to you if you want to use them or not. Okay, this is it. You could now go ahead and hit File, Export, and export this as an OBJ. So I'm going to do this now. We're going to see how this thing looks like in Studio. Okay, so back here in Roblox Studio, we want to create a mesh port, and then just import this onto this mesh port right here. Where is it? There we go. Let's change the color to something bluish. Nah, not neon, but where is it? Glass. There we go. Now it gives off some kind of ice fruit type of wipe, maybe. I don't know. What do you guys think, huh? But yeah, this is literally one way of doing these things. There we go. Now we could copy this stem and paste it inside of here. There we go, guys. So this is our second type of model. And yeah, we're now gonna move on with the third one, okay? And the third one is not using any kind of texture. It is not using those engravings. What it does is that it just, well, it is pretty hard to describe, okay? But it used some kind of abstract shapes maybe. So let me try to put it this way: there are devil fruits in one piece. If you want to recreate them, you might want to use this type of modeling or the second one, okay? And you also have types of fruits which are more suitable for the third type of modeling, which we are now gonna see. Okay, for example, I can really imagine the ice fruit, for example, to look like it. So when I speak of the ice fruit, I really imagine some kind of spiky bluish fruit, and this type of fruit would perfectly fit into this third way of modeling, okay? While, I don't know, maybe the barrier fruit, which I imagine as some kind of cube-shaped fruit, would more likely, you know, fit into this into this way of modeling, and the gummo fruit might as well just fit into the second type of modeling because of its engravings, because of its patterns right here. But yeah, let's actually stop the discussion and let's move on with showing you guys how to model it. Alright, so back here in Blender, what you want to do now is that you want to go to, you want to press Shift A and then just select the cube, okay? And let me actually give you a warning, because this type of, or this way of modeling will be the most difficult one for you if you're a beginner, because this way of modeling requires a lot of creativity, and it requires you to know what you're able to do within Blender and what you're not able to do. While the first and the second ways of modeling, they follow a strict plan, okay? So you literally have one or two shapes which you just put a texture upon, okay? So that's the first one. Or you have another shape in which you just engrave the swirl pattern, okay? So those are two strict guidelines or ways to model things, while the third one doesn't really have a strict plan. It doesn't really follow a strict plan. You're free to do what you want to do, okay, as long as you have the outcome inside of your mind. And let me actually show you what I mean. I'm gonna try to find a fruit model now. Wait, I'm gonna be back. I'll be back. Okay, so I've just found it, so let me blend it in. I've created this months earlier, okay? But I'm gonna show you that this way of modeling works once you have a clear outcome inside of your mind and you know what tools are available for you to use in order to get or receive this type of outcome. I'm not gonna recreate this 100%. I'm just gonna create something which looks similar, okay? So and I'm not gonna really explain what I'm doing right here, because I've already explained it, okay? I already told you what scaling is, what extruding is, what placing cuts is. It is now up to you to practice it. So you guys have to practice everything. Wait, let me undo everything. Yeah, so you guys really need to practice things in order to really understand what I'm doing right here, in order to be able to, you know, do things like these for yourself. So in order to be able to sit there someday and then be able to tell your approach on models like these. Okay, so there you go. We've now literally changed this from a blocky shape to a round shape. And this is very good. We can make this really, really round, as you can see, but making this round also increases the amount of triangles. Now if I just... wait... wait. No, wait. Let me change this down to 0. So I'm not really sticking to the reference image anymore. I've just took it and made those... I don't know how you want to call these, but I just made these according to the reference image, and I'm just gonna and now I'm just adding some random detail to it. But yeah, as you can see, this is how things look like now. Let's apply this, and let's apply the decimate modifier, and let's shrink this down. So from 2 million down to 10,000. Let's see how things are gonna look like. Yeah, so this could take a while. I have a pretty good PC, but this will take a while, I'm sure. Okay, 2000. 2000 triangles only, and it still looks like... yeah, it still looks like what it has looked like before, you know, so there's barely any change. So let's increase this to 0.002. How far does this change now? Okay, takes a while. $5,000. Okay, let's use this. So we have 5,000 triangles now. That's actually sick. That is sick, man. Come on. Apply already? Okay, there we go. Now, that's it, guys. That's one way of modeling things, and this is by far the most difficult one for beginners, and I don't really recommend you to do this until you have a little practice, because you don't really know what to do and how to do. Okay, now go ahead and hit File, Export OBJ, and then export this, and then we're gonna see each other back in Studio importing this into Studio. All right. Alright, so back here in Studio, we just want to do the same as we've done before. So I'm going to duplicate this one. I'm going to import this third fruit model into it. Turn server error. Wait, this seems... could not upload mesh port. Okay. I'll be back once this is fixed. Alright, so I've got this to work now. the thing is that it refused to upload this mesh port. So what I've done is that I've went back into Blender, scaled it up a little, and then I've exported it with another name, and then suddenly it started working. Well, I can't really explain this, but it works, and that's the most important part. And yeah, so we could now add the stem onto this as well. Why is the stem so small? There we go, guys. There we go. So let me just quickly talk about the pros and cons, and then I'm gonna end this episode right here. Let me actually try something out. That doesn't work. Wait, what happens when I copy all of these inside of here? Oh, it works. Okay. So take this as a lesson as well. You can combine the first and the third method, and this is the outcome. Doesn't look that bad, so you could actually do this in your game. But yeah, let me talk about the pros and cons quickly. So first way of modeling, pros and cons. The pros, it is pretty easy because you have a strict plan you just have to follow, okay? First step is to insert any shape you like, so a sphere or a cube, or you can even use abstract shapes, all right? Second one, create a stem, okay? So you have to create a stem for each model as well. So in each way of modeling, you have to create a stem if you want to create one, of course. But yeah, second step is to create a stem. Third step is to create a swirl texture. If you do not have one, if you have one because you've stolen it from somewhere or you have took it from Toolbox, I don't know. But if you have one, then you can skip this step. But if you have one, just put it on this cube right here, on your shape, and create a few more decals to really cover up each face of your shape right here. And yeah, that's actually it. Now, that's one pro. There is actually no other advantage to this, rather than it is easy to do. But the cons is that, well, it is easy to do, therefore you cannot really expect it to be that good looking, okay? And that's the point. So this looks pretty basic because it is pretty easily made. So that is one con. Now let's move on with the second one. So a pro on this one is also its con, okay? The pro is that you have those engravings, okay? And those engravings really make the fruit look unique. But those engravings also cause the fruit to look ugly. And that is because, as you can see, around this middle part of the fruit, those engravings are just stretched. And I cannot really help you with that, okay? Therefore, I don't really recommend using the second way of modeling. But yeah. Third one, pros. It really has potential to look very, very good. Another advantage is that you can combine the texture from the first method with the third method's fruit. The con is that it is pretty difficult to create one. So you need a lot of experience in Blender and you need to be creative. But yeah, with that being said, guys, thanks for watching. In the next part, we will take a look at how to weld everything correctly and how to use it within our tool right here. With that being said, see ya.